Welcome to F1 on the Rocks. Sit back and pour up your favorite drink. Hey, we're not the ones behind the wheel.
Whoa! Wow! Welcome back, F1 on the Rocks fans. It's good to see /here/ I don't even know what's going on, but I'm here with the one and only co-host of F1 on the Rocks, Mr. Brian Dowers, straight from Denver, Colorado. How are you, sir?
Yo, I am good, Will. I am good. I am in Denver and it is freezing out here. It was snowing sideways today, but I'm alive and well and chatting with you, so I couldn't be better.
Yeah, dude. Oh, you're in my old stomping grounds. It's interesting. Like, what are we? We're in April and it's still like freezing cold. I think you guys got a cold front out there. So yeah, I mean, does it make you appreciate your Florida weather a bit more?
Oh, abso-freaking-lutely. It is right now, let's see, it's 23 degrees out right now. So for a South Florida boy, I'm freezing, but I
Yeah.
got to send my kids a video of me out in the snow today, which they loved. So yeah, got a little business trip action and we were able to sneak this in. So I'm pumped.
Nice. Have the little ones been in or around snow up in New York before?
Never, never. They're old mans from Buffalo and they have never seen a snowflake.
Dog, we need to get a family snow trip going here, I think is what you're telling me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nice, man. That's good. Yeah, I'm kind of pumped. I got my first hockey game tomorrow night and I have no idea what I'm doing. I have like literally like 8 hours of ice time and I'm just gonna go play a hockey match. No big deal. We'll see how that works out for me.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, let's kick it off with some fun action. I think this week I am responsible for the official one breath race review, and yeah, I like the one breath race review only because I get to. It's like poetry to me. I get to like spend some time putting it together for the listener audience a little bit. Um, but I guess I should ask this question before I do the one breath race review. What are you drinking tonight?
It's funny you ask. I am drinking tap water from the hotel coffee mug.
The quintessential hotel coffee cup water. Listen, everybody has done it at least once in their life. Like it's a thing that has to happen. I'm gonna go with the mango bubbly liquid death tonight. Crack it just for you. There
Ooh,
you go on air.
nice.
All
I
right,
love it.
I got my palate wet. Here we go. Okay, focus. Red flags all around. Where we stopped, nobody knows, except for Leclerc, who found a spot on the beach to watch the race. Shitty starts and a taste of Mercedes' masterful management of Hamilton puts him in Max's mirrors. Pit stop Perez popping inside on 9. Lando picking a fight with Hulk. Mass chaos on the 57th. Signs in deep spinning Alonso. 2 Alpines and a pear tree. Stroll goes looking for Leclerc and a 58th victory lap to get us out from down under.
Boom. Well done, my friend.
Thanks. I worked really hard on that one.
That race was fucking wild.
It was an insane, chaotic, ridiculous race. And I wish I did not stay up all night watching it.
Did you stay up Saturday
I
night?
did. I stayed up and watched the whole
Nice.
thing, and it was just like red flag. And I'm like, cool, 30 more minutes where I have to sit here and do nothing. Yeah, I'm an F1 fan, and you'd think like, okay, this is great. It's longer, but no, not at like 1 a.m. I wanted to go to sleep at that point in time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh my gosh. What a race. It was a record, 3 red flags. There's never been 3 red flags before.
I did not know that. That is
Hmm.
a Brian level statistic that you have
That's
brought to
right.
the table. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah, I think like I kind of expected the first one, right? I was like, cool, the first one, awesome. The second one I didn't see coming, but at the same time it was like, well, we're so close to the end of the race and we've done this before. We've been down this road before. You'd think that there would be something different that they would be doing, but nope. And then we have a third one, and you're just like, okay, well,
Right.
I don't even
W-
know.
What do you think about that second one? So the first was valid, right? Right. Albon fucking bins it hard. There's gravel everywhere. Um, Fair enough. Nope. I don't think anybody's got a problem with that first one. That first red flag. the second red flag when Magnussen's tire goes, do you think that's too much for the spectacle? Like they threw a red flag, so they've got a 2-lap sprint to the end, a la 2020 Baku. What do you think? Is it too much for the show? Should they have just finished under yellow? What's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about so the thing about Albon's lap 7 was he was cooking in that sector all weekend long. Like that was his sweet spot. And so like I think he was pushing it harder than he needed to, and it slid out from him. And that's how we ended up with that first one with Albon. That latter one though with Magnussen, he put the tire on the wall. Did you see the highlight reel where he like actually hit the wall and that's what caused the tire to pop? Like that was Magnussen just making some dirty mistakes. To answer your question, I really wish that they had done things differently after the second red flag, but we got into this last season. It's like there are nth number of ways to solve that problem. So I'm going to table that and bring it back for you here in a minute, because
Okay.
I do have a little thing for you at the end that I wanted to dive into that. So,
All right.
I guess the question for you is, does it look right now like Leclerc is like maybe trying to leave soon? Are you getting the vibe?
He seemed awfully deflated.
Yeah.
And some people have mentioned, he went into the gravel, and then once he was in, he threw down the throttle hard. The tires gave one quick spin, and he was out of the car immediately.
Mm.
And then was just kind of like, moping around. Not that I blame him, right? I'd be moping around too if that were the case. But he seemed more deflated than he maybe should have been. And maybe that's because the Red Bull's so damn fast, and it doesn't matter if he was in the gravel or not. They never had a chance at the race, yada, yada, yada. But yes, he seemed very deflated.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch the crash? Because you know that Stroll actually kind of bumped him there. And I
Yeah.
felt like
And
there wasn't any acknowledgement of the fact that like Stroll kind of spun him out. Like, was he in the wrong position? Yeah. Should he have been swinging a little bit wider there? Sure. Stroll was kind of pinched by Alonso, but like, I don't know. I feel bad for Leclerc in this instance because it just seems like he's just taken a beating all the time. But at the same time, it's like Ferrari is known for their mistakes in the last 2 years. So
right. Agreed. I think it was a racing incident. The really interesting thing was Stroll also got a tiny little piece of Alonso there too. I mean, that could have been really, really bad for Aston. So I think he got a little lucky there. But I don't think really anybody was at fault. I think it was a very typical first lap racing incident.
speaking of Stroll and how lucky he was, lap 57, when he took it deep into the same beach that Leclerc went into, but he ended up in the mud. And I went back and listened to the radio, and his guy on the radio, his team manager, whatever, is saying, "Get back to the pit, get back to the pit, get back to the pit," because he knew he was stuck down there, and he didn't want him to get stuck because he knew they were going to reset. And he's basically yelling at him, and you can see Stroll just kind of like, "I got to get through the mud, I got to get through the mud." And but the only reason he ended up that deep in turn 3 was because I think he was trying to like block Sainz after he knew Sainz took out Alonso in that 57th lap. So it was kind of like a little bit of like, I'm going to defend my boy going into turn 3 kind of thing, and just went flying past him because Sainz hit the brakes and made the proper turn.
Right.
But yeah, I'm really pissed about the whole Sainz incident. We'll talk more about that in the grid rivals section.
Okay. Sounds good.
So what did you think about Perez starting in the pit and doing the Lord's work, making his way all the way up to 5th, to a finish in 5th? I mean, I got to give him a little bit of props for that. That's pretty remarkable, all things considered.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was getting through the field. He was making some aggressive moves. I mean, I can't think of what turn number that is, 9 maybe. The super fast left-hander, and then the quick right-hander. He was going on the inside of people there. He was going on the outside of people there. He was super fucking racy. And obviously, all of the cars he's passing, they're nobody's racing him at that point. They're all kind of conceding that, which helps. But he was picking his way through the field, and I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, he did it. He did it on somebody. I think it might have been Hulkenberg or Magnussen, right? On turn 9. And the next lap, he had caught up to somebody else, and he did it again inside turn 9. And then he was gonna try it a third time, and I'm pretty sure that the teams at that point knew that he was passing on the inside at 9. So somebody had warned that driver, and they like kind of pinched over early and kept him from passing. And I got a chuckle out of it because I was like, seems like he's just trying to get past people in 9, and he's making his way all the way up the field. But yeah, it was a good crazy race. I think really what everyone was left with was just this feeling of like that uncertainty again at the end of a race when things happen and don't happen the way that they should. And obviously everybody wants to pretend that they could be the race director, but it's probably a bit more of a difficult job than most of us understand. So, give me your picks. Who's your best rookie of the weekend?
Best rookie of the weekend. I think it's got to be Piastri in terms of where he finished, right? It's his home race. He gets his first points. The McLarens ended up having a great weekend. If it weren't for all the chaos, would we be talking about him? Probably not. But hey, that's how it shook out. So I think, in my opinion, it's got to be Piastri. What do you think?
No, I agree. Arguably, in a car that performed worse than the Alfa Romeo at that point in time. I mean, Joe was just behind him in terms of the final race results. So I think Joe's got a year in the car. Oscar's got 2 races in the car plus a little bit of testing. So I think he gets a little bit of street cred there. Logan made some stupid mistakes, so I can't give him any credit. He ran into the back of somebody and threw him off and kind of screwed himself.
Did you see that from Sargent's onboard?
Mm-hmm.
That was so bad.
Yeah. Yep. I think that there was a miscalculation because it's like he was driving into that corner like he was third on the grid, but there were like 20 cars in front of him on the grid. So it's like, dude, you're going to have to stop sooner than you wanted to. I don't know what he was thinking.
For sure. He was last. So this was the second restart, lap 55 or 57, whatever it was. Yep. And he's last on the grid. He's coming up to turn 1 and just hits DeVries from behind.
Yep.
That was insane.
Yeah, and if you're Nick, you're a little pissed about that too, because it's like, man, I could have just kept going, and now I'm in the beach. Everybody just joined Leclerc at the beach in turn 3 there for a while. Like, it's
for
crazy.
Real.
All right, who you got for driver of the day?
I don't want to give it to Perez. I love Perez. I'm a Checo fan, but he's in the fastest car. Granted, he started 20th. He got to 5th. There was some chaos that helped him out there. I'm going to say Hamilton. I think that Mercedes somehow is getting better, although they haven't really brought any upgrades. But he was in front of Alonso the entire race, never made a mistake. Alonso was always in his rear view mirror. And you and I know, from my racing or playing F1 or whatever it is, like you've got somebody in your mirror for a couple laps. I'm freaking out, let alone 57 or 59 laps, a double world champion in your mirror.
Yeah.
Right there, ready to take your spot if you make a mistake. And he never did.
Yeah, it's so hard to see someone in your mirrors and not think about, all the things that could go wrong and continue to drive and focus on what you should be doing right. So I like your pick. I actually am going to go with Alonso as driver of the day for 2 main reasons. The first one being I loved his reaction when he got hit by Sainz in that 57th lap and he got spun out. He didn't say oh, why did you hit me or anything like that. He goes, fucking red flags. I hate these things. Like, he blamed the red flag incident that made the restart occur for him being spun out in that corner, because he's like, if I could have just kept racing, we would have been done with this thing. But he did a great job. And as you said, he was on form, at least trying to catch Hamilton. And I think Hamilton just maybe had a slightly better performing car. And also I think he had, the incidences that occurred playing to his advantage, which helped him keep out front. So, all right, donkey of the day. Who do you got?
Donkey of the day. We've got options here. And I know we just touched on it, but I think it was so egregious that I have to give it to him. Logan Sargent, donkey of the day. For those who didn't see it, Google it, YouTube it. It's been posted everywhere. Go and watch his onboard from the restart. It's just so egregious. It's like someone in their first F1 online lobby just going into turn one, braking as if they're on like a quali lap or something, and just hitting the back of De Vries.
Yeah, it's the first time it felt like Logan was a rookie to me. Like up to
For
this point,
sure.
I'm like, he knows what he's doing. All right, good. They found a guy finally, but not in this instance. I don't think so. I'm gonna pick somebody different than you, and that's just again because I feel like if I rail on him this whole episode, then I can forgive him at the end, and that's Signs. Like, dude, you're there, you're on the podium, like just make it through the fucking turn and finish the last 2 laps and sit on the podium and celebrate with a bottle of bubbly and your best bud. Like, I don't know, it just makes me mad. So my donkey today is Carlos Sainz.
I think that's totally fair. And I think those who are maybe not that in tune with, exactly the line to take there, given the situation, might not agree with that. But yes, the penalty he received was harsh because the field was so stacked up. And a 5-second penalty moved him, out of the points or wherever he ended up. But if you watch that replay, he's just taking too aggressive of a line given the situation.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Damn it, Carlos.
Damn it, Carlos. So I put together this, Brian and I, for our podcast listeners, Brian and I have been working on some newer segments, some things that we just want to do to mix things up occasionally. So tonight in our bullshit segment, and I pulled this one just for you, Brian. Bullshit. We are going to do a little thing of WWLD, and that is, what would Latifi do? Yes, that's right. You thought you were done with Latifi in 2023, but you are not, because we're bringing him back. And so the question to you, Mr. Dower, is, if Latifi was sitting with the stewards as race director and there was a crash on the 57th lap of the Australian GP, what would Latifi do?
What would Latifi do? What a great question. He would finish his Nutella sandwich. he would give a nice pointed interview. No, Latifi would red flag it, and he would maybe try to get us to go back a couple laps because he's for the show, and I appreciate that about Latifi. So Latifi would red flag it. He'd go to the stewards and say, "Hey, I know, at this point there's only one more lap, so the formation lap would bring us to 58 or 59, and that would be the race. But let's pull it back a couple laps, pretend that the second restart never happened, and we'll just do it all over again. Give it the little Men in Black red light flashy thing on everybody, and just start it all over."
Yeah, give him one of the nebula, not the nebulizer. I know what you're talking about. What's the name of that thing?
What is
bonus
the name
points
of it?
if you can remember it before the end of the episode. Okay, that's a very good answer. I'm gonna go with Latifi would most likely extend the race by 2 laps after red flagging it, send everybody out, but then forget to remind them to add an additional couple laps of fuel, and everyone would run out of fuel on the track. That's what Latifi would do.
I love it.
We got a listener question from Ryan Casey, an awesome dude that I work with at Chase. He asked this question: do you think some internal storm is brewing at Red Bull with Checo? I feel like he feels that he's being sabotaged. I sense some bad blood from last season with Max not letting him pass in one of the last races of the season, and I feel like I could see Danny rejoining the team full-time as number 2 driver if Checo says, "I'm done being disrespected." What do you think, Brian?
I think Ryan Casey might be onto something. I don't. Obviously, we know Verstappen's the golden boy in Red Bull, and at the end of last season, there was a lot of drama in Brazil, etc. And I don't think Helmut Marko and the Red Bull team appreciate that. And if they want Max to be a triple, quadruple, etc. world champion, they don't want that shit in the team. And Danny hanging around and just being there might play into that. Maybe it doesn't as much as people think. Who knows? We'll never know, or maybe we will next season. But I think Ryan Casey is onto something. I think Checo and Red Bull and Helmut Marko and Christian Horner are not seeing eye to eye right now.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I'm gonna let you have the last word on that one, and I'll take the listener question next time. I don't agree or disagree. I have to
Okay.
issue a correction from last week's episode. In the bullshit segment from last week,
Bullshit.
I actually was talking about the Bottas helmet that he had done specifically for the Australian GP. And I said it was his usual artist who's done his helmets in the past, and that was incorrect. It was actually commissioned by an Aboriginal artist and then auctioned off, and the proceeds went to the local Aboriginal community that that artist was from, and that Bottas, I guess, had selected. So pretty cool. Again, if you haven't seen the helmet, it's linked in last week's episode, and I'll maybe link it in this week's episode too, just in case you want to see it.
That's super cool. Again, our guy Bottas living his best life.
He certainly is living his best life. All right. And hype. We are talking Fantasy F1. That's the end of that clip. I gotta get it to fade in and fade out a little bit better. I hope I didn't blow people's car stereos with that one.
I was about to get my glow sticks out.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little techno-y. Maybe we need a different sound segment for that one. Grid Rivals, our fantasy F1 league, where you can flex your team principal skrills and show Toto who's boss. Now, Dower, I've got to pull this up for you, and I'm gonna have to do some like finagling of screens here. So let me just do this real quick. And I think that our listeners will get an extra good kick out of it here. We're going to do this one. Okay. And then I need to do this one. All right. Oh, wait. Hang on. Wait.
Bear with us.
Wait for it. Technical difficulties. Okay. Boom. There it is. All right.
Boom.
So this was from F1's actual TikTok account or Instagram account. It looks like Reels Instagram account. And it says, F1 Twitter continuing to outdank us all. So it's on Formula Dank. So it's a meme done by F1. And it says, Darth Toto has returned. And this is the music that it has with it. Oh, wait, hang on. Wait. How do I get the audio on here? Mute screen audio. No, we should want that to come through. Okay, here we go. I don't know. I just got a kick out of it. I thought it was really funny. It's like raining and he's wearing his hood over, and it's just like Toto. Man,
I love it. He's the emperor.
Yeah. Anyways, you've got to be a better whatchamacallit than Toto, a better team principal than Toto if you want to win the $200 in the F1 on the Rocks Grid Rivals League this year. So some updates for you.
Before you go into the updates, I was feeling really, really, really good because I won't go through my whole roster because I'm not that person. Like someone finishes a round of golf and you're like, how'd you play? It's like, oh, well, on hole number 1, I did this. And by the 5th hole, you're just trying to find ways to kill yourself. But anyway, long story short, my team was looking great until the restart. And then it just all went to shit.
Yeah, I have to feel like those F1 on the Rocks listeners who have been like working on their Grid Rivals League specifically to keep up this season, all at some point in that race suffered some sense of like total like, oh, well, what the fuck? Because I mean, I did, and I know that there were a couple other people that did too. But yeah, I won't. I'll just rail on that one person who completely screwed me here in a minute. But our current points leader is Harv Speed, and he's out front with 3,049 points for the season. Now he put up and for the newer Grid Rivals League and newer listeners, over 1,000 points for a week is a pretty good score. Like if you can get over 1,000 points each week, you're doing something right. So Harv Speed did that. He's out at the top. Now here's where things get interesting. The most points earned this week were by Michael.260487223, and he had 1,148 points this week, which is like a sizable number. That bumped him all the way up into second place, only 18 points behind our leader right now. And I went and took a look at his roster. He did that by acquiring Stroll as his talent driver. 338 points he got with Stroll as his talent driver. So it just goes to show that sometimes it's not about having the highest budgeted driver. It's about picking the guy who does the best, who has the least amount of salary that's required to pull off a big number like that. Props to you on that one,
Yeah.
sir.
Wow, that's interesting. I wonder how long Stroll will be allowed to carry that, talent driver tag.
I don't know the rule off the top of my head. I think it's either 13 or 14 million. Once the driver passes the $13 million salary cap range, they can no
Okay.
longer be a talent driver. I believe. I could be
Gotcha.
incorrect. Yeah, check the rule book on that one. Don't quote me. The lowest weekly score this week was Martin Boy, BOI, Martin Boy, with 129 points. Now, I can't tell if he drafted an entire team, but hey, that's what the app spits out at me, so that's what you get today.
Martin. Ouch.
And some updates. So you might have noticed like Sunday, Monday that there were some budget cap issues, aka you were broke as fuck and couldn't get another driver into the empty slot that you had. But don't worry, the kick-ass team at Grid Rivals has fixed all that and everything is squared away. So you have literally 2 weeks to decide the perfect team that's going to do whatever it's going to do until the 57th lap of the race when Sainz inevitably bins it and screws your team. Sorry, I'm a little bit bitter about that. Man, I was like, I like dropped the driver and I put Sainz in and I'm like, this is the smart decision. Like, and then I'm watching the race and then your weekly pick'em happens to George and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
I'm going to win this and win that. And then Sainz, fucking idiot. Okay, I'm done.
Brutal.
Well, that brings us to, this one's for you. Rambling and gambling. All right, weekly pick'ems. So last week, if you missed the episode, we picked 2 bets, 1 per person, our weekly pick'ems, and the winner at the end of the season is allowed to bestow upon the loser some sort of punishment, which we're still working on. I've asked some folks for some insight on that, but haven't really gotten it yet. Brian, what was your weekly pick'em last week?
My weekly pick'em was George Russell on the podium at plus 470 odds. I was going hard right out of the gate with our first week. I was on top of the world when he's leading, after 4 or 5 laps, whatever it was. And then Albon bins it. Russell goes into the pits. Then they throw the red flag. I'm like, fuck. All right, whatever. Maybe he can bring it, come back from 7th or wherever he was at the time. And then his car catches on fire. The PU goes poof. And that was that.
Yeah. I saw the PU go and I was like, oh yeah, I'm at least gonna start 1 week ahead. So that's why I'm thinking, great, Sainz, let's do this. Like all you gotta do is finish top 6 and I'll win my bet. My bet was Carlos Sainz top 6 finish. And then the 57th lap, and I was just like, I think at 1:30 in the morning exclaimed out loud expletives while my wife was sleeping next to me, and she just like rolled over and was like, huh? And I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll see it tomorrow. Like, it's gonna be okay.
You went all in on Carlos. You had him in the weekly pick'em. You added him to Grid Rivals, and the stewards just boned you.
He let me down. He let me down real hard. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I think I have him for a couple weeks now, so
yeah,
I shouldn't talk him too much.
Did you hear him in the media pen afterwards? He's like, I don't want to talk. Don't ask me questions. I'll come back after I talk to the stewards, which I don't blame him. We talked about it already. I think it was his fault. But he was pissed.
Yeah, he was stewing on it too. The shitty part is, right, when they pull the cars into that pit lane and they're kind of waiting for what's going to happen, you could see, they had the cameras on him and he was shaking his head and he had his head in his hands and he's talking through his helmet. He's talking to the team about like what needed to happen there. And I don't know. I don't know that there's like a proper solution. Like the one thing that did upset me on his behalf was the fact that because everyone was crunched together at the restart, there was no separation between him. And so that 5-second penalty had more of an effect. And so I was thinking in my head, like, okay, if there's a red flag within, 3 laps of the end of the race or something of that sort, then we refer to the last interval time of a full width, full speed race lap. So that way it's like, okay, if he did take the 5-second penalty, well, maybe he only dropped like 3 or 4 spots as opposed to all the way to the bottom of the grid. And so I feel like in some senses that was unfair. Like, did he make the mistake? Yes. Did he get the penalty that deserved of 5 seconds? Yes. Did he need to go all the way to the bottom of the grid for that? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
that's tough.
it's the old FIA rule book strikes again. In our last episode, we promised you guys a season future bet, a one bet to rule them all, and we're going to save that for next week because we have some time in the next couple weeks before we get to Baku, and we want to make sure that we get you guys out of here today on time. So, Brian, bring us to a close here. What do we need to talk to people about?
We need to talk to people about a couple things. We need you to send us some more questions.
Yeah.
We had some great ones from Ryan. We had a few others come in. We want to keep them coming. So keep those coming. We've got a big break, right? This is like a weird, like almost 4 week break. So we're in Baku next, Azerbaijan, street circuit. We'll have an episode obviously before that, where we'll preview that. We'll talk about the track. We'll talk about what's going on in F1 news, because I'm sure we'll have some stuff coming down the pike. So we'll hook up on that coming up in the next week or so. So please send us those questions. Please check us out on social media, specifically Twitter. Support us on Patreon. We are in it for the long haul, and we appreciate everyone's support, and we want to keep it rocking. So if you want to support us via Patreon, if you want to support us by sending us questions, if you want to be on the pod, fucking drop us an email and let us know. We're down. You don't have to have any crazy F1 knowledge or F1 experience or whatever. Like, if you're just a super fan and you like the show and you want to come on and shoot the shit with us, drop us a line. We're in.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I just have a hat and some posters and some things, and then I tell people I like F1 and we have a podcast. So if you guys want to be a part of that, just be like, hey, I want to be a part of that, and you can come join us anytime you want. That does it for this week and the Australian GP review. We'll see you next week for a little bit of fun and some other activities. Adios, friends.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to F1 on the Rocks. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe now and watch for updates at f1ontherocks.com and on social at F1 on the Rocks.